Hello everyone, welcome to Vigyan's Foundations for Science, Technology and Research. This is Dr. P. Srinivasa Rao, Assistant Professor in Physics, Department of Science and Humanities. Today we are going to discuss about the bonding in solids and crystallography. So this is a part of engineering physics. These are the contents of this first chapter. So in the first chapter we have bonding in solids and different types of bonds, and second one is the classification of the materials into different types, crystalline materials and non-crystalline materials, and third one is the different types of crystal systems and the Bravais lattice. Next one is the different types of crystal structures. This includes the simple cubic, body-centered cubic and face-centered cubic. So and the next one is the different types of planes. This includes the Miller indices, and next one is the interplanar spacing and different types of crystallographic directions. So next one is the X-ray diffraction. So in this X-ray diffraction we will discuss about the powder diffraction method, and finally we will discuss about the different types of defects in the crystals. So these are the outcomes of this first chapter. So after completion of these chapters, the student is able to learn about the various types of bonds and different types of solids depending upon the atomic arrangement. And next one is the concept of the Bravais lattice and how this Bravais lattice is categorized into different types of crystal systems, and we will calculate the different types of parameters for the simple cubic, body-centered cubic and face-centered cubic. And next one is the concept of crystallographic directions and crystallographic planes and different types of Miller indices, and the student is able to draw different types of directions and different types of crystallographic planes. So the student is able to learn about the different types of Miller indices. So next he will learn about the different types of X-ray diffraction methods. So this includes the powder diffraction method, and at the end of this course we will give you a brief introduction about the defects. So the student is familiar with all these concepts in this first chapter. So first we will start with the classification of the materials. So the materials are basically classified into three types. First one is the solids, second one is the liquid, and the third one is the gases. So in case of solids, the atoms are very closely packed together. Here you can see these are the atoms. So these atoms are very closely packed together, and the attractive force between these atoms is very strong. And in case of liquids, there will be no particular order in the atoms, and the attractive force between the atoms is not very strong. But in case of gases, the atoms are randomly oriented in different directions, and the attractive force between the two atoms is not strong. So these are the materials that we are classified into different types. First one is the solids, liquids and gases. Okay. So in case of solid, there is a particular arrangement of the atoms, and the attractive force between the atoms is very strong. In case of liquids, the attractive force is weak, and in case of gases, the attractive force is very weak. These are the materials. So here we first will discuss about the solids. So in case of solids, the interatomic forces. So this is one atom. This is the positively charged nucleus, and the electrons are revolving around the positively charged nucleus. And this is another atom. This is another atom. So this is also contains the positively charged nucleus, and the electrons are revolving around the nucleus. So when the two atoms are bringing close together, okay. So when the two atoms are bringing close together, so here we have positive charge and we have negative charge. Here also we have positive charge and here also negative charge. When the two atoms are bringing close together, so this according to the Coulomb's law, this positive charge, that means the opposite charges, positive charge and the negative charge, they start to attract, because according to Coulomb's law, the opposite charges are attract with each other, and the similar charges like positive and negative, similar charges, they repel with each other. So when the two atoms are bringing close together, so these interatomic forces, okay, these interatomic forces come into picture. So in case of solids, the atoms are tightly close packed together. In case of solids, the atoms are very close together. So this is all the order of only few angstroms, that is about the 10 power minus 10 meters. When the two atoms are bringing close together, so these negatively charged electron cloud, okay, these negatively charged electron cloud, so they start overlapping, okay. So here you can see they start overlapping. when they start overlapping, there will be rearrangement of the valence electrons. Okay, these are the valence electrons, they start to overlap. So there will be rearrangement of the electrons, electron structure. So first point is when the two atoms are bringing close together, so these forces are interatomic, these interatomic forces, they are electrostatic in nature. That means the force between the two atoms is electrostatic. That means between the positive charge and negative charge, and negative charge and the positive charge, and positive. Here you can see this is first atom positive charge and this is the second atom positive charge. So these are the, so here this nucleus starts to attract the second electron. So this is the first nucleus and this is the second atom electron. Okay, so this positive charge not only attracts the negative charge of the first atom, so they start also attracting the negative charge of the second atom. So this is the positive charge of the first atom, so it starts to attract the, when the atom is bringing close together, so it tries to attract the negative charge of the second atom. And also, so because this positive charge, both are similar, they starts to repel. So here we have three types of forces. First one is the nucleus electrons. So this nucleus is positive and the electrons are negative. And so this is the attractive force, because opposite charges attract with each other. And these electrons, because this electron is containing the negative charge, this negative charge and this negative charge, they starts to repel. And this nucleus and this nucleus, because both are containing the positive charges, there is a repulsive force. So there will be attractive force between the opposite charges and the repulsive forces between the similar charges. Okay, so these are the electrostatic in nature because of the positive charge and negative charged nucleus and electron. So these are respectively positive. So these forces are electrostatic in nature. These forces are electrostatic in nature because of the positive charge and the negative charge. So when the two atoms are bringing close together, so the electron structure is rearranging to get the stable configuration. So in order to achieve the stable configuration, there will be rearrangement of the electrons. So this rearrangement of the electrons will leads to different types of bonds. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the different types of bonds. So these bonds are primarily categorized into two types. First one is the primary bonds and second one is the secondary bonds. So these bonds are categorized depending upon the bonding energy. So if the bonding energy is 0.1 to 10 electron volts, if the bonding energy is more, then it is said to be the primary bond, or we can say this is the stronger bond. So if the bonding energy is very weak, 0.01 electron volts to 0.5 electron volts, then it is said to be the secondary bonds. So depending upon the bonding energy, we can say that whether the bond is strong or bond is weaker. If the bonding energy is stronger, then it is said to be the stronger bonds. If the bonding energy is less, then it is called as the weaker bonds. Okay, so these primary bonds are categorized into three types. First one is the ionic bond, and second one is the covalent bond, and third one is the metallic bond. And these secondary bonds which are having the less bonding energy, these are categorized into the van der Waals bond and hydrogen bond. We will discuss each and every bond briefly. So first we will go to the ionic bonds. So this ionic bond is formed due to the formation of the ions. So we have two types of ions, positive charged ions and the negatively charged ions. So this bond is formed due to the formation of the ions. That's why this bond is called as the ionic bond. So this bond is formed between the electronegative atom and the electropositive atom. These ions are formed due to the formation of the ions. That means electrons are transferred from the one atom to the another atom. So this is formed between the electropositive atom and the electronegative atom. So here we take the example of sodium chloride, which is called as the NaCl. Okay, so this is nothing but our cooking soda or cooking salt. So at your home you can see it's the cooking salt, which is also NaCl. So this NaCl, so this sodium atom contains the 11 electrons. So this 11 electrons means 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, this is the configuration of the neon. This is the configuration of the neon, which is a noble gas, which has the stable gas configuration. This is the stable noble gas configuration. So in order to become stable, this atom, so this sodium atom wants to become stable. Okay, if it loses one electron, it will gain the neon configuration. Okay, which is a noble gas, which is more stable. So in order to get the more stability, this sodium atom is ready to give the one electron. That means it will become electropositive because it is highly electropositive. That means it is ready to donate the electrons to the other atoms. Sodium becomes, when it donates the electrons, it will become the positive charge. When it donates, that means when the electron is leaving. So this is positive charge and the electrons are revolving. So when it is leaving the atom, it will become the positive charge. That means sodium becomes sodium plus. In a similar way, this chlorine atom has 17 electrons. Okay, so its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 2p5. Sorry, this is 3. Its electronic configuration is 3s2, 3p5. So when it is gaining the electron, it will get the argon configuration, which is also a noble gas. When it gets the electron, it will become the argon configuration. So it is ready to gain the electrons. That means it wants to become electronegative. It is able to attract the electrons. Sodium is ready to give the electrons and the chlorine is able to attract the electrons. So in this way, electron is transferred from the sodium atom to the chlorine atom. So when it is giving the electrons, it will get the neon configuration, and when it is gaining electrons, it will become the argon configuration. So which is both are the noble gas configurations. So this will become, so neon is more stable and argon is also more stable. So this is ready to give the electrons and this chlorine atom is ready to take the electrons. So due to this, when the electron is donating, it will become the Na plus. And here when it is gaining the electrons, it will become the Cl minus. So due to this formation of the ions, that means sodium becomes sodium plus by giving the electron and chlorine becomes negatively charged ion, so by gaining the electrons. Due to this formation of the ions, this bond is forming. So they are getting the more stable configuration into neon and argon. So due to this rearrangement of the electrons, so the bond is forming. So that's why this is called as the ionic bond. So because ions are forming in this bond, the ions are forming sodium plus and chlorine minus. Due to the formation of these ions, the bond is forming. That's why this is called as the ionic bond. Here you can see, so this will become sodium plus, and here we have adjacent 4 atoms. All are nearest neighbors. So they are in the equal distance. So the force is from all the directions because this is positive charge and this is negative charge. So all negative charges are at the same distance and the attractive force is also same. So attractive force is same from all the directions. It has no particular direction. So this bond is non-directional in nature. So this bond is non-directional in nature, and here we have excess positive charge because this is a positive charged ion and this is the negatively charged ions. So we call it as the polar in nature because here the dipoles are forming. So one is the negatively charged ions are forming here and the positive charged ions are forming. So here we have one excess positive charge and here we have one less positive charge. That means negative charge we have. So dipole means 2 poles. Okay, one is the positive pole and second one is the negative pole. So due to this dipoles are forming, so this bond is called as the polar in nature because it has some dipole moment. So if the two equal and opposite charges separated by some distance, then it is called as the dipole, and its dipole moment is given by P equal to Q into D. So this is the charge that is on the one pole, and the separation between the two charges is equal to D, and its dipole moment is equal to P equal to QD. Since this molecule contains some dipole momentum, these bonds are said to be dipolar in nature. Okay, so these are polar in nature because of the formation of the two opposite poles. Okay, so these are coming to the properties of the ionic bonds. So these bonds are non-directional in nature because attractive force is always from the all sides because it has no particular direction, because the force is always from all the directions. It has no particular direction. First property is the non-directional in nature, and the second one is they are generally crystalline in nature because here you can see, so they form a regular and periodic arrangement of atoms. So because if the atoms are forming the regular and periodic nature, okay, so that means the atoms are, again the same thing is repeating again and again, and the separation between the two atoms remains same. They are periodic in nature. So these will form the highly crystalline nature. So they have the high melting and boiling points because as we have seen before, so in case of solids the atoms are very close together. So if you want to make it liquid, if you want to separate these two atoms, if you want to break this bond, that means if you want to melt this material, you have to give some energy, because this strong bond, so we need to give the more amount of thermal energy. If we heat it a lot to a very high temperature, then only you can break this bond. Otherwise, you cannot break this bond. Okay, if you want to separate the atoms, because in case of liquids, the atoms are slightly apart each other. So if you want to melt this material, you have to give lot of energy, because the bond is stronger between these two atoms. When the bond is stronger between the two atoms, you have to give a lot of thermal energy. When you give lot of thermal energy, then only they will get separated. That means they will become melted. That means melting point in the sense at which temperature it will become the solid, become the liquid. So at this and boiling point in the sense when there is liquid, if you want to separate into two atoms very far apart. If you want to separate into far apart, that means into individual molecules. Okay, then also you need to give the lot of energy, because the bond is very strong. So these materials will have the high melting and boiling points. They have low electrical conductivity. So for the electrical conductivity and thermal conductivity, so we need the free charge carriers. Only when there are free charge carriers, then only the electrical conductivity will be here, because for the conduction of the electricity we need the free electrons. If there are free electrons, then only electricity will conduct, otherwise there will be no conduction. So since these materials which doesn't have free electrons, the electrical conductivity of these materials is very poor. Since these materials are having no free charges, that's why the electrical conductivity of these materials will be very low. They are able to soluble in water. So this is the example that we have seen. This is the NaCl. So this is the salt, nothing but the salt, which can be easily soluble in the water, because if you put some salt in the water, it can be easily soluble. So next one is the covalent bond. So here co means sharing and valent means valence electrons. Okay, so since this bond is formed due to the sharing of the valence electron, this is called as the covalent bond. This bond is formed between the valence electrons, which can be shared by the two atoms. So here you can see the example. So this is the silicon, which contains the 14 electrons. So its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s2, 3p2. So this is 3p2. So first 10 electrons, they occupy the first and second orbit. So this is 1s2 and this is 2s2, 2p6. There are 8 electrons in the second orbit and there are only 4 electrons in the third orbit. Okay, since this third orbit is vacant, so this is called as the valence electrons. This third orbit is incomplete, so that's why silicon has the 4 valence electrons. Here you can see if you take this silicon, so it contains the 4 adjacent atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each silicon atom has 4 valence electrons. So each silicon atom has 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 valence electrons. So these 4 valence electrons, so each silicon atom has 4 nearest neighbors. So these 4 atoms, they form the covalent bond. That means they share the valence electrons. 4 valence electrons are shared by the 4 silicon atoms. So what is meant by sharing? So sharing, that does not mean the electron is cutting into 2. It doesn't mean cutting into 2. So if you take this 2 hydrogen atoms, so each hydrogen atom contains the 1 proton and 1 electron. So this electron which belongs to this atom and this electron which belongs to this atom. Okay, so these 2 electrons, you can see this electron not only revolving in this hydrogen atom, it is also revolving in the other atom. This is meant by sharing. That means the 2 electrons, the valence electrons, they spend equal amount of time between the 2 nuclei. These 2 electrons not only belongs to this atom, they also belongs to this atom. Sharing does not mean it is cutting into 2 half and take the 2 atoms. Okay, here the meaning of this sharing means this electron not only belongs to this atom, it is also belongs to the next atom which is sharing the valence electrons. So sharing means that valence electrons spend equal amount of time between the 2 nuclei. So this electron not only belongs to this atom, it also belongs to this atom. This is the meaning of sharing. Because this is sharing only one valence electron, okay, so this is called as the single bond. This is called a single bond and this is called as a double bond, because here valence electrons are 2 valence electrons are sharing. This is called as the double bond in case of oxygen, and in case of nitrogen, since 3 valence electrons are sharing, this is called as the triple bond. And here the bond is forming only in particular direction, not in some other direction. So this bond is said to be the directional in nature because the bond is forming between these two molecules in a particular direction. So this bond is called as the directional in nature. So coming to the properties of the covalent bond, so these covalent bonds are directional in nature because the bond is forming only in a particular direction. Okay, the sharing is only between the two nuclei. So they formed in a particular direction, so they are called in the directional in nature. And the second point is that these can be solids, liquids and gases. Okay, this bond can be formed in the solids as well as the liquids and as well as the gases. Here you can see, if you take the example of solids, it is a silicon, and liquids it is nothing but some methanol, and in case of gases you can see in oxygen and nitrogen it is also forming. Okay, due to sharing of the valence electrons, so this covalent bond can be formed in the solids, liquids as well as the gases. And the next one is they have soft and low melting point. So compared to the ionic bond, this bond is slightly weaker compared to the ionic bond. This bond is slightly weaker. So if the bond is weaker, then we have the slightly less melting point and the boiling point. That means we need less amount of thermal energy. That means we need the less amount of temperature to break the bond. And next one is so they are generally insulators electrically because the valence electrons are sharing since there are no free electrons. In order to conduct electricity, we need the free electrons. Since there are no free electrons, they will act like insulators. That means they do not conduct the electricity at all. And next one is so they are soluble in the non-polar solvents, but they are not soluble in the water. They are not soluble in the water, but they are soluble in the non-polar solvents like benzene. So what is the difference between the ionic bond and covalent bond? So here the ionic bond is formed due to the transfer of the electrons. Here the covalent bond is formed due to the transfer of electrons from one atom to another. In case of sodium chloride, so Na to Cl. This is Cl. So when the electron is transferring from the sodium to chloride, then only the bond is forming due to the transfer of electrons from the one atom to the another atom. But here due to the sharing of the valence electrons, this bond is forming. That is the difference between the ionic bond and the covalent bond. So coming to the differences, so this bond is formed due to the transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom, and this covalent is formed due to the sharing of the valence electrons from the one atom to the another atom. So this bond can exist between the metal and non-metal atoms. So if you take the NaCl, so this sodium is the metal and Cl is the non-metal. So this bond is exist between the metal and the non-metal. So this bond usually exists between the non-metallic atoms like silicon, oxygen and nitrogen. So these are the non-metals. So this bond is formed between the non-metals, and this bond is non-directional because here we have seen, so this sodium atom is attracted by the all chlorine atom from all the sides. This all from sides, it has no particular direction because the attractive force is same from the all directions. But here the bond is directional because when the two atoms are forming, so the electrons is shared between the two nuclei. So it has some particular direction. So this bond is called as the directional in nature. And this is polar in nature because here we have seen when the electron is transferring, it will become the Na plus and it will become the Cl minus. So here we have positive charge and here we have the negative charge. So due to this, the dipoles are forming. This bond is polar in nature. And here it can be, sometimes it can be polar and it can be non-polar. When the two atoms are sharing the valence electrons equally, then it is called as the non-polar covalent bond. Non-polar covalent bond when equal charges, equal valence electrons are sharing. If they don't share the equal amount of, not equal amount of charges, then it is called as the polar bond because of the unbalanced charge distribution. So it will form a polar covalent bond. And here it shows the charged particles of opposite charge because here the charged particles of sodium plus and here the negative charged chlorine ions are forming. So these are opposite charges. So opposite charges are forming because of the charge transfer from the one atom to the another. But here we can see in case of silicon, so there will be no transfer of electrons from the one atom to another. So it holds the because it is not donating the electrons. So examples for this ionic bond is the sodium chloride and potassium chloride. And in case of covalent bond, nitrogen, oxygen, chlorine, these are belongs to the covalent bond. So next one is the metallic bond. So this name itself, it forms in the metals. Okay, the bond which is formed in the metals is known as the metallic bond. So here I am going to take the example of this sodium. Okay, sodium contains the 11 electrons. This 11 electrons and this first 10 electrons. After this 11 electrons, 10 electrons are occupying the first and second orbit. First and second orbit. These third valence electrons, 3s1 electron. So this is loosely bound to this sodium atom because the attractive force between the positive charge and this negative charge is very weak. So it is ready to donate the electrons. Okay, because the attractive force, because it is too far from the nucleus compared to the other electrons, it is too far from the nucleus, so it is ready to give up the electrons. Okay, these electrons are called as the free electrons. These electrons are called as the free electrons. When the electrons are donating, this sodium becomes sodium plus because here we have some excess. Here we have some excess charge and the electrons are donating by this sodium atom. So these electrons not only sometimes it is spent some time on this positive ion and again it will go to the some other atom. So this electron will revolve for some time around this atom. Okay, and next it will go to some other atom and it will revolve around some this atom. So this electron not only belongs to this particular atom. So this electron not only revolves around this atoms and it can revolve around any atom. So it will randomly move in the lattice. So it can move anywhere within the crystal. So this is the positive charged ions because they are losing the electrons, this valence electrons. So these positive charge, so they form a gas. This is called as the free electron gas. This is the free electron gas. So these electrons not only belongs to one particular atom. That means these electrons are shared by the many atoms. This electron, this free electron not only belongs to this atom. It can freely move anywhere within the crystal. They are free to move within the crystal anywhere. So these are the free electrons. So they can move anywhere. Okay. It contains the positive charged ions and separated by this negatively charged electron cloud. So because if we have only positive charge, so they start repel. If there are no free electrons, it starts to repel. So the material becomes unstable. So if there is negative charge, so this will become the attractive force between this positive ion and this electron, and here also there is attractive force between this positive ion and this electron. So these electrons that are formed between these positive ions, they reduce the repulsive force between the positive ions. If there are only positive charged ions, these positive charged ions, they start to repel and material becomes unstable. So these negatively charged electrons, they act like a glue. Okay, so this will hold this positive charged nuclei. This will hold the positively charged nuclei and this prevent the atoms to become unstable. If there are no free electrons between these two atoms, these positive ions, it will become unstable because the repulsive bonds become very high and they will go apart and the material will become unstable. So these negatively charged electrons, they will act like a glue. They will act like a glue and it will hold the positive charged ions. It will hold the positive charged ions. Otherwise, the positive charge, they will repel and the material becomes unstable. So these electrons, they not only belong, so they will revolve around this atom for some time and they will go to another atom and they will revolve for some time and they will go to some other atom and they will revolve for some time. So in this way, the electrons are shared by the many positive ions. It does not belong to only particular atom. So many free electrons are shared by the many positive ions. So these electrons not only belongs to one particular atom. It belongs to many atoms. So many free electrons are shared by the many atoms. This is about the metallic bond. So these metallic compounds are crystalline in nature. That means they form a particular regular and periodic arrangement of atoms. Okay, so they are regular and so they form a perfect crystalline material. These metallic bonds. So they are very good conductors of electricity because here you can see. So there are so many free electrons. Okay, for the conduction of electricity, we need the free electrons. When we apply electric field, so these free electrons starts to move. Okay, so due to this, the conductivity of these materials is very high. So they have moderately high melting and boiling point temperatures because the bond is not strong enough, because the bond is relatively weak compared to the ionic bond and covalent bond. So they have slightly less boiling point and melting point compared to the ionic bond materials and covalent bond materials. So and next one is they are opaque to light. Since there are so many free electrons, inside, when the light falls on this atom, they absorb and they re-emit. When the light falls on this material, when the photons are falling, so there are so many free electrons. These free electrons, they will absorb the energy. So it will not allow the light to pass through them. So these free electrons, they will reflect the light. So they will reflect the light. So they have also high thermal conductivity. That means the thermal conductivity. That means they are able to pass the thermal energy. That means the heat. So these metallic materials, they are able to pass the heat also. So they are good conductors of the thermal conductivity. That means they are able to pass the heat also. So they have high reflectivity. So when the photons are falling, they absorb the energy and again they will reflect the. So if you look at the metal in the sunlight, they will reflect the light. Okay. So this is the summary of these primary bonds. We have ionic bond and covalent bond and metallic bonds. So these are called as the primary bonds. So coming to the bond formation, the ionic bond is formed due to the transfer of electrons from one atom to the another atom. And this covalent bond, it is formed due to the sharing of the valence electrons. And this metallic bond, it is formed due to the attractive force between the positive charge ions and the electrons. And this nature of bond, this is non-directional, and this covalent bond is directional in nature. So this is a non-directional in nature metallic bond. Why it is so? Because this positive charge electrons, so these electrons are moving randomly. It has no particular direction, so they can move anywhere. So it has no particular direction. This bond, metallic bond, is non-directional in nature, and the bond energy is relatively high compared to the metallic bond for the ionic bond and the covalent bond. So the conductivity is low for the ionic bond and the covalent bond because there are no free electrons in the covalent bond materials and the ionic bond materials, but it is very high in case of metals because there are so many free electrons. The electrical conductivity and thermal conductivity is very high, and compared to the mechanical strength, the hardness of these materials is very high. And for the covalent bond also they are hard, but in case of metallic bond, the bond is slightly weaker. So this bond is hard and ductile. That means we can make the metals into some different shape by applying some pressure. So they are relatively slightly ductile in nature. So that means we can make them into some shape. And this compared to the solubility, so these ionic bond materials, they are soluble in the water, and these covalent bond materials, they are not soluble in water, but they are able to soluble in the polar solvents. But these metallic bond materials, they are not soluble in water, but they are soluble in the organic solvents. Okay. So next one is the secondary bonds. So these are the weak bonds. So before going into the details of this van der Waals bond and hydrogen bond, so these are categorized into the secondary bonds. So before we are going into the van der Waals, first of all we know what is the dipole moment. Okay. So here there is some positive charge nucleus and the electrons are revolving in the circular orbits. So this is like a sphere. The electrons are revolving in a circular orbits. So this is like a sphere. So the center of the sphere is also it coincides with the positive charge because the nucleus is at the center and the center of this negative charge is also at the center. That means the positive charge and the negative charge both are coincide. For the dipole, so for the dipole formation, this negative charge and the positive charge should be separated. Then only dipole moment will be formed. If the both are coincide, then the dipole moment equal to 0 because the dipole moment P equal to Q into D. So if they are separated by some distance, then only dipole moment will be formed. Otherwise, there will be no dipole moment. So in case of symmetric molecules, that means on the left side, if you take the left side, the amount of negative charge on the left side and the amount of negative charge on the right side, if they are both equal, then the center of positive charge and the center of negative charge both are coincide. In this case, the dipole moment equal to 0. Okay, so that means they are non-polar in nature. But in some molecules, the center of positive charge and the center of negative charge, they do not coincide. Okay, that means here we have the more positive charge on one side and here we have more negative charge on the other side. So in this case, the center of negative charge and the center of positive charge, they do not coincide. They form the dipoles. Because of the dipoles, there will be some dipole moment. Because of the unsigned, that means on one side we have more positive charge and on the other side we have more negative charge. So due to this, the center of negative charge and the center of positive charge, they do not coincide, they are separated by some distance. Due to this separation of this negative charge and the positive charge, there will be some dipole momentum. So these dipoles are formed due to the unbalanced distribution of the charge. That means here on the left side we have same amount of negative charge, and the right side also we have same amount of negative charge. But here in case of some molecules, the amount of negative charge on the left side and the amount of positive charge on the right side is different. Okay, so they are not symmetric. If they are symmetric, that means on the left side and the right side, if they are symmetric, if they are same equal, then it is called as the symmetric in nature. If they are not equal, then it is called as the asymmetric in nature. So there will be no balance, unbalanced distribution of the charge, then it is called as the asymmetric molecules. So in such molecules, dipoles will be formed. Dipoles will be formed. So due to this dipole formation, so here we have excess positive charge. So these excess positive charge, because here this is another atom. So this is another atom. Here we have positive charge nucleus and the electrons are revolving around the positive charge nucleus. So this positive charge tries to attract this negative charge cloud. So it means this positive charge attracts the negative charge of the another atom. So due to this, here one dipole is forming and here another dipole is forming, because here there is no dipole moment, P equal to 0, because it is symmetric in nature. It is symmetric in nature. So when this asymmetric molecule, that means it contains some dipole momentum. The molecule which is having the dipole momentum, it comes to close interaction with the next molecule and it will induce some other dipole momentum in the next molecule. So due to this dipole interaction, this van der Waals bond is forming. Here we have excess positive charge on this side. This excess positive charge, they attract the negative charge of the neighboring atom. Attracts the negative charge of the neighboring atom, and this positive charge and this negative charge attracts. So when this attracts, here we have more negative charge on this side, because the positive charge attracting a negative charge. So here we have only positive, because this positive charge repels, this positive charge will go away and the negative charge will come close together. So due to this, another dipole is forming. So this van der Waals bond is formed due to the interaction of the dipoles with the another dipole. Due to this dipole interaction between the two molecules, this one is forming. So this is called as the van der Waals bond. This is the weak bond. So van der Waals bond, sometimes if you look at this one, so sometimes it can form on the sides. Sometimes it can form this positive charge on this side, and it can form the excess negative charge on this side. So these are the fluctuating dipoles, because sometimes electrons, if all the electrons come on one side, so negative charge, center of negative charge will move to this side. If all the negative charge come into this side, so the center of negative charge formed in this side. So these are the fluctuating dipoles. So if at some time all the negative charge will come on this side, and at sometimes all the negative charge come on the other side. So due to this, so the dipoles are fluctuating. That means they are not constant. They are not constant. They are changing with the time. So at some instant of time, all negative charge may come in this side, and at some other instant of time, all the negative charge is coming on the other side. Due to this, dipoles are forming and they are changing with time. So these are called as the fluctuating dipoles. Okay, these are the properties of the van der Waals bond. So these van der Waals bonds are non-directional nature, because sometimes dipoles are forming on the other side. So sometimes this polarity gets reversed. So it has no particular direction. So these are non-directional in nature. So this is the weakest bond among all, because sometimes the dipoles are forming, sometimes it may not form. Sometimes the polarity of these dipoles are changing. So it is the weakest bond among all bonds. This is the weakest one. Van der Waals bond is the weakest one among all the bonds. So they have low melting point, because the bond between these two atoms is very, very poor. So it can easily, we can remove the bond very easily. So we need very little amount of temperature. So the melting point is very low. Since there will be no valence electrons, because here only dipoles are forming, there will be no free electrons. So this is so they are bad conductors of electricity. They do not conduct the electricity, because for the conduction of the electricity, we need the free charge carriers. That means we need the free electrons. Since there are no free electrons, the electrical conductivity is also very poor. These are soluble in both polar and non-polar solvents. So the next one is the hydrogen bonding. So in the hydrogen bonding, at least one atom must be the hydrogen, and the second atom is the strong electronegative atom, such as oxygen, nitrogen and fluorine. So in this in this bonding. So one of the hydrogen atom, okay, hydrogen atom is gives up because this fluorine atom. So here we take the example of hydrogen fluoride. So in this hydrogen fluoride, this fluorine contains the 9 electrons. So if it gets one more electron, it will get the neon configuration, which is a stable gas configuration. And when it donates the electrons, when it give up the electrons, so it will become the positive charge. It will become the positive charge. So this electron, this here, this electron which is transferred to the fluorine atom, it will spend most of its time with the fluorine atom. Only proton will be left here. Only hydrogen contains only proton. So this dipoles will be formed here. These secondary bonds are formed due to the dipole-dipole interaction. So here when the electron is transferred from the hydrogen atom, only the one dipole is formed. Okay, and this electron most of its time spent with the fluorine atom. It will not come back to. So here you can see actually it contains only 9 electrons. When the electron is taken from the hydrogen atom to the fluorine atom, it will spend most of its time with the fluorine atom. It does not come back again to the hydrogen atom. So due to this, dipoles are forming. Here we have positive charge and here we have negative charge. So due to this formation of the dipoles, this hydrogen bonding is forming. So here it contains the one hydrogen atom, one strongly electronegative atom such as nitrogen, oxygen or fluorine. So this bond is formed due to the transfer of electrons from the hydrogen atom. So hydrogen contains only positive charge. This the electron that is accepted by this electronegative atom, it will spend most of its time with the fluorine atom. So here the dipoles are forming. So this dipole is forming around a particular direction. It forms a dipole around a particular direction. So these bonds are said to be directional in nature. Because here we have positive charge and here we have negative charge. So due to this separation of the positive charge and negative charge, dipoles are formed. So this hydrogen bond is strength is very poor. That means from the 0.01 electron volts to 0.5 electron volts for the bonds. Okay, here you can see the hydrogen H2O, a water molecule which is also a hydrogen bond. This is example for the hydrogen bond. Here you can see when the oxygen contains the 8 electrons. Here the oxygen contains the electrons, so it will attract the 2 hydrogen atoms. Here because hydrogen contains 1 electron and this hydrogen contains the 1 electron. So it will take the electron from the hydrogen atom and from this another atom. So it will become the neon configuration, which is a stable gas configuration. So the electron that is received from the hydrogen atom is spend most of its time with the oxygen atom. So only excess positive charge is left over here and excess positive charge is left over here. Due to this, the dipole will be formed here because the dipole is from the positive charge to the negative charge. And here we have the positive, from here we have positive charge and here we have negative charge. Due to this, the dipoles are forming. So this bond is formed in a particular direction. So this bond is said to be the direction in nature. Here you can see this is one water molecule and this is another water molecule. So since this contains the positive charge, it attracts then another water molecule because it contains the more amount of negative charge. So due to this attraction between the positive charge and this negative charge, so the water molecules are attracted with each other. Okay, due to this hydrogen bond is forming. So coming to the properties of the hydrogen bond, so they are directional in nature because the dipoles are forming. So these dipoles are from the negative charge to the positive charge. So they have some particular direction. So this bond, because this bond is very weak in nature, so they have very low melting point. They do not conduct electricity because there will be only dipoles are forming. There will be no free electrons. So these are bad conductors of the electricity. And next one is so they are soluble in the both polar and non-polar solvents. So they are transparent to solvent because since they are having the no free electrons. So they do not absorb the energy. Okay, they are transparent to light. So when your light falls on the materials, it will able to pass through them.